I'm Chris Jones, your host. Welcome to the Art and Business of Writing podcast. Welcome to the Art and Business of Writing podcast. Today I am with Leslie Sann. Leslie is the author of Life Happens. What are you going to do about it? A practical handbook with powerful tools to access your inner resources and transform your life. Leslie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's a joy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So tell us a little bit about your background.
I've been helping people learn and grow for almost 30 years. Years and years ago, I was trained as a facilitator of transformation before there was even the term coach. And we help people grow into the best version of themselves. I facilitated personal growth trainings, and then I grew in private one-to-one sessions to ground the expansion that can happen at a workshop. You know, it's easy to see the top of the mountain when we're in a group and it's a transformative, uplifting experience. And then we go back to our everyday, ordinary life. And sometimes the gravitational force field of our habit structure, it makes it a little bit more challenging for the transformation to take hold. And so that's when I became what's now known as a coach. And then along with my facilitation skills, due to the numerous amount of trainings and credentialed coaching programs I took, I also received a master's degree in spiritual psychology and later a master's degree in counseling psychology, which led me to become a board-certified professional counselor. But my growth is on positive psychology, growth, learning, and upliftment. I work with the learning paradigm. And as I said earlier, my job is to help people grow into the next best version of themselves. And it's one of the greatest joys of my life.
That's really interesting. Growth psychology, explain a little bit about how that works with people.
There's not one person on the planet that doesn't have a place in their life that feels a little contracted. We might call it a problem. We might call it I feel stuck, or I keep doing the same thing over and over again, going nowhere. And often it's supportive. You know, two heads are better than one. So I come in as a neutral observer to help people see where they are part of the problem, because when we can declare ourselves the problem, we can also find the way to be the solution. And that whole movement from problem to solution is what I call moving from victim to victorious. So when I can access my inner resources, as it says on the subtitle of my book, I can transform my life because I can become empowered to make new choices and take new actions that will contribute to creating a preferred outcome that I would like to live in. And that's why I call my company Living by Design. It's about being very conscious about my participation in my life so that my life can be one that I create out of love and that I love the life that I'm living.
Now, as a coach, what do you do for your clients to help them to move forward?
Well, it's so interesting you say that, because I was just speaking with my coach just in a place of exploration about what it is that I bring that's a service. And after almost 30 years of working with people, what my sense is, what I present is my presence, the unconditional welcome and holding space for somebody to hear their own inner wisdom. I have bucketfuls or closetfuls or trunkfuls of tools and techniques that help people hear themselves and their own truth and their own wisdom and their own heart's yearnings and their own right answer as how to move forward in their life. But mostly I think what I bring is a presence of possibility and a trust in my client that they know how to manage the circumstances they find themselves in. And in that energetic field that we create together when I'm sitting with the client, whether it's in person, on the phone, via video conference, there's something that happens where the client recognizes in themselves their own innate power to make a positive difference in their lives. So it's beyond technique, it's beyond skills. Those things are like Band-Aids in a sense. To me, the real transformation comes when a client sees themselves as everything that's possible and knows they can be part of creating that in their lives.
How do you help people ground themselves and become, one, resilient when maybe that's not their makeup, but you talk about helping people become resilient and responsive to situations, I guess, in a way that makes them more healthy and strong. How do you do that?
Resilience is about falling down and getting back up one more time than you fell. It's the willingness to keep going. It's the commitment to see life as a for me process and to know that I have the inner resources to handle it. And even if I don't know what that looks like at this moment, if I keep showing up and participating in my life, the wisdom to move forward will present itself and I'll know how to take a step forward. So it's not about trying to manage our outer circumstances because, quite frankly, that's out of our control. There's nothing we can do about most everything in life except for our choices and our actions. And so becoming resilient is being able to recognize that that's where I'm powerful, not in trying to control my outer environment, trying to manage the people I'm working or living with, trying to control other people's thinking about me. Even trying to manage my own thoughts and feelings is outside of my domain of control. But my ability to make choices, which is the ability to respond and take action, is totally the palette of possibility and creativity and power that I live from. And most people don't recognize how powerful that is. They tend to try to control something that's out of their control, which just fosters that consciousness of being a victim, rather than taking ownership, taking responsibility, and being responsive and creative and resourceful in every moment. It's really a glorious way to live. And in that place of glory and joy and creativity, there's a lot of fun in not knowing and being in a place of design from every moment.
Wow, I love that. Now I want to talk to you about your book. Let's dive into the book some.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the topics that you cover in your book, and then really how you got into developing the book.
Well, my book, it comes from, I've been writing an online e-zine, or I guess a blog, even though I don't post it in the blog format, since 2001. And before that, I had been writing articles and handouts and little workbooks for my clients in order to help them between sessions, something substantial they can go to, something anchor this, the point of view or the viewing point I was asking them to embrace so they could become more resilient and resourceful. And then after 9/11 happened, I realized that whatever I was doing to prevent me from going public with my writing was really ridiculous, because for me, I took that whole event as, we could have the whole planet could have blown up. I mean, I kind of went into the sky is falling kind of a thing. But whatever I did with it, it kind of kicked me in order to get moving forward. And I started writing an online newsletter, which turned out to be received with people really liked what I was writing. And then I kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to put it into a book. I'm going to write a book, where I'll talk about, yeah." And then it's easy to write a chapter at a time, which is kind of like what putting an e-zine up is about.
Yeah.
And just 2 years ago, I just decided to stop talking about it and do it. And I hired myself a coach. I mean, I'm a coach. I really believe in the support and the relationship and the power that having a person in my court has for me. And I committed to a deadline. And I created this book out of just like the things that I have found to be the most powerful power tools, I call them, in facilitating the shift from victim to victorious, like upshifting into a higher consciousness where invention, creativity, inspiration, joy, fun, play, all those creative energies that helps us see life from a different point of view. And I've had people tell me, as I wrote the book in such a way that people could just open it to any chapter and find use in it. I just asked them to read for sure the first chapter because it gives a context for the whole book. And I've had people tell me that they put the book by their bedside and if they're kind of feeling either wanting to learn something new, they'll open to a chapter. If something's not going well, they'll kind of browse through the table of contents and see what in the book could be useful to them in the moment. And I myself have used the book. Shortly after it got published, I was in a very I call it excitement in a sense. There I was outside my comfort zone. My book had been published. I was now living a new reality. And the parts of me that were keeping me from doing that up until now were in my face. And I go, oh, I'm really having an unpleasant moment. And I went, one of the many power tools in my book can I utilize right now? And I randomly opened the book and I came to the chapter on forgiving. And I went right into the tool, and I just worked the tool. And in 10 minutes, I was totally clear and in a free and joyful place again. So it's a practical handbook, just as it says. I made it readable. I made it fun. People said they like the writing. It's playful and it's actionable, because to me, my book and my work is about helping people get engaged in their lives so they can be empowered and become the change they want to be. I mean, that's that Gandhi quote, but what does that really mean? I help people to do that, to become the solution to the thing they've been complaining about so they can live in the results they prefer.
So that's an interesting way of writing the book, because when I talk to people about book writing, the intimidation factor starts to hit really fast. Like, well, what do I write about? How do I write? It's going to take a long time to write a book. But you took the route of using your e-zine or your blog to develop all your content over time and just compile it and tighten it up, which is a really smart way to write a book.
I think I started with maybe 20 of those e-zines, and then the book has 44 chapters. So then, of course, I filled it in. But once I had a skeleton, and I'm writing a second one because I have so much more content. And the way I write based on inspiration. Inspiration is like let's say I'm in a contracted place. I'm human just like anybody else. Everything I teach comes from learning how to become a better version of myself. And so let's say I'm driving her through my life and I hit a road bump and now I'm in a grumpy place. It's like, what did I use to get myself back into joy? Then I'll take that tool and I'll work it with my clients and see what of those tools I've discovered works with them. And then I'll write about it, because now I go, that's the kind of research I do. I don't really research other people's evidence. I research my own evidence based on what I've learned from my life and my life of the clients. And so then I'll write an e-zine about a funny thing that happened when I was pulling out of my parking spot and I banged into somebody. And like, what was that about? And it's a way for people to engage these learnings and these tools in very ordinary, mundane ways, because we all live ordinary and mundane lives. I don't care who you are. And so, what I do is show people how they can do even better than that.
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the way your book is written. If anyone reads your book or decides to read the book, they're going to find, one, it's very conversational. Like, I feel like I'm talking to you. Like, I feel like we're having a conversation when I'm reading through the book. But two, just the choice of pronouns. You talk about we and us and our. And so when I'm reading the book, it feels like I'm learning directly from you. I feel like I'm being coached from you. And I think that's a great way for someone like you, who is a coach, to write a book to someone. Is that purely deliberate?
Yes, I mean, when I write, whether I'm writing in the context of a book or a newsletter or some sort of even an email to a client, and I'm supporting them between sessions, if they're stuck, when I work with a client, I'm on 24/7. I'm in their lives for the time they have me, and so even then, I'm always speaking to what it is I see impossible with them, and then building a bridge for them to get there. And yes, it's very intentional, because I want people to be able to they are taking their time, energy, and money to read my book. And I want them to have value and response. That's my commitment. My book's not about me. It's about the reader. How can I be of service to their lives?
And it definitely comes across very clear. The best nonfiction books that are about life change or self-help, those are what they do the best. Is basically, as a reader, getting me to reflect, getting me to think about all the things that you've taught me, and then how do they apply to my life? How can I use them right away to create the change that I'm looking for?
And the thing, Chris, when we're talking about books, is like there's so much to read and there's so much to absorb now. When people write, I would really encourage them to be storytellers, so that people are engaged and it's not dry and it has relevance and meaning to their lives as best as the writer can possibly reveal that. Because there's just so much coming at us to where am I going to invest this creative curiosity and intelligence that I want to foster So if I want to be a writer to that person, I want to make it pleasant for them, entertaining, engaging, uplifting, not dry or too heavy on the intellectual concepts.
And I think that humanizes the writer as well. It helps people to realize that the writer is just like them. It's just you have a level of expertise that I need to tap into. Now, let's talk about some of the trials and triumphs of nonfiction writing. What is some advice that you or words of wisdom you can offer to writers who are looking to write using their professional experience the way that you did?
We have this thing called a reticular activating system in the brain, and I've fine-tuned mine, and I'm actually upshifting it a little more so I could be more articulate to capture stories. So incidents in my life that could be revealed in a storytelling way that could be useful to the reader. And so to start keeping a journal of storytelling, whether it's in my personal life or something that happened based on an intervention I did with a client and how that changed their lives. So that it's really relatable. And so that also will reveal to the reader my professional experience because I'll be showing them what happens. Not telling them about it, not features and benefits, but actually bringing them into the world of coaching so they can see how it works. And then people can try it on for themselves and see if that's something that calls to them. And I think storytelling is very, very inviting, and it helps bridge people from their left brain, their cognitive brain, to their right brain, their experiential brain of possibility. And those of us in this world, I'm assuming people who are writing the kind of books you're speaking to are people who have a service they want to offer and want to let people know how they can be useful to the reader. And to me, storytelling is the way to go.
Yeah, and you do a good job of writing the book and not pitching, hey, contact me. Because I think that's, when you're a coach, when you're out there and you're getting your feet, when you're getting started as a coach and you want to put together a book or some sort of manual to help people, resisting that temptation to keep bringing it back to yourself is a hard one to do. And you did a good job of not doing that. You did a good job of just kind of presenting the information, letting people know what to do, and then tying it all together so that they know where to find you.
Well, you have to know, Chris, I wrote the book for the reader. I didn't write it for me. I don't know how far into a book I could get if it was about the author trying to just have a longer way to capture my attention and sell me something. That'd be so off-putting. So I think people really have to consider what's the most important outcome. Are they there to serve their reader or their client? Or, that's true for wherever I go in my life. It's not about me. It's about them. I'm here to serve them. I have value to give. How can I offer it in a way that's useful? Now, that's my guiding premise for the work I do, whether I write or I'm with a client or I'm teaching a small group or a larger group.
Now, offer some promotional tips for nonfiction writers who are using their professional experience like you to promote their book.
So, as I said, I didn't write the book to be a bestseller. It would be lovely if that happened, but I'm not really feeding that because what I do for work is I coach people in transforming their lives into something they really are loving. So I use the book very often. I give a lot of books away because it's a way for people to meet me. Like you said, you get a tone of speaking with me. You can see what I do. You can learn things from the book. And that might lead to an opportunity for us to have a conversation. And I welcome any of your listeners to reach out to me if there's a way I could be of service and for us to have a conversation because I love to help. It's so funny, Chris. Since I wrote the book, people are coming to me asking me if I can help them, coach them write a book, which based on results, I can. So, how can I be useful? And so the book for me is a way to offer that to people. And here I am running around to the post office, sending my books out to people. And I live in a small town, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different 5 post offices, like within a 2-3 mile radius of where I live. And every single post office postmaster, somebody in the office has one of my books. You might want to know what's in this package, so I gave them a book. And I actually wrote an article about this. One of the postmasters, mistresses, told me she went in for surgery and she brought her book with me to the hospital, and she said it helped keep her attitude positive, that there was a blessing here someplace. And she said it helped her get through the convalescence so much more easily from a place of possibility than the fear she had been habituated to. So I don't know if that woman's ever going to be a client. I don't really care. I'm so happy that my book was useful to her. But sometimes a book lands in someone's lap and they call me, or they, reach out and they join my e-zine list, or they'll tell their friend about me who'll call me. And that's what I'm interested in, is getting in front of a public that might make more use of me. And so that's how I use the book. It's as a way to create a bridge into possibilities of us working more closely together.
What does your ideal client look like?
My client is somebody who loves to learn, loves to grow, and is willing to to step more into being a responsible creator, because that's someone that I can inspire to action in their lives. And I don't really care what domain of, and I've worked with CEOs, I've worked with doctors, I've worked with women who have a big family and who are trying to be a place of calm and an intelligent resource to their family. I mean, like, again, it doesn't so much matter what people are doing out there. What really matters to me is the essence of someone. I mean, my degree and my practice is a spiritual, psychological, positive growth orientation. And I really help people work from the inside out, from who they really are in their heart. What is it their loving kindness wants to express into the world? What are their gifts? How can they be of service based on how they're designed? How can they take care of the package they come in so they could be useful to their lives and really be, we all love to give and to serve. So how can we do that even better? So to me, the ideal client is not so much what they look like on the outside, but who they are on the inside, and how important it is for them to become more of that in a more productive and efficient way.
Awesome. Now, is there a quote or something great that you want to share from your book before we close out?
Yeah, this is one I love. It's mastery in life is not about avoiding adversity or challenges. It's about learning life skills so you are resilient, responsive, and resourceful when life does what it does. It's about embracing change while learning so you can meet life on life's terms and win.
Ooh, love that. Love that.
And I'll tell you what, Chris, I actually took 3 of the chapters out of my book because I love teaching people how to be winners in their lives. Because sometimes, we get so fixated on success looking like something out there, and we forget how successful we are every day. And we have to change our brain, that reticular activating system, so we can see ourselves with more loving eyes. And I wrote this little journal that's a 30-day practice book called The Winner's Journal. And if any of your listeners want a copy of that, I'll send them a PDF version of it as a thank you for taking the time to be with you and me today, and as a welcome to my life. So all they have to do is email me at leslie@lesliesann.com, and I'm happy to gift them with that.
All right, and that's LESLIE at LESLIESANN.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, Leslie, can you close by telling our readers how they can reach you? We just gave them the email address, but where else can they reach you and find you?
My website, lesliesann.com. And if they want to, they can go to the top. It says tips, and they can sign up for my e-zine, and they can get to know me that way. And if I'm teaching an online workshop or a local workshop, they can find out about that through the tips. And they're called Living by Design Tips, and they come out every other week. But I'm welcome for anybody just to write me, say hi, ask a question. I'm really available to be useful.
Excellent. And where can we find the book?
Amazon.com.
Awesome. So guys, be sure to get out there and get Life Happens. You're not going to be disappointed. Looking for those changes that you've been seeking, you'll find them there. Leslie will walk you through. And of course, as she said, you're welcome to reach out to her at leslie@lesliesann.com if you have questions, comments, or thoughts. And Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Chris, for welcoming me. I'm so grateful.